Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. I'm your host, Mark. We got another episode of Lorehammer. Roboute Guilliman this time. We're starting another Primarch episode. How do you say his name, Christian?
Roboute Guilliman, actually, like the French. Roboute Guilliman.
Excellent. Okay. And Jordan, you want to give it a whack?
I mean, exactly how I read it, Roboute Guilliman.
Yes. Phonetically, you read it that way. Okay. Yeah, no, we're doing that guy. He's a cool guy. He's kind of just like, if ever you would want to date anyone in 40K, like you were like a super hot, eligible Eldar lady, he would be the guy you want. He's strong, he's stable, reliable. He's going to build you an empire. He's the guy. And the Emperor felt the same way about him. We're going to talk about him. But before we do, let's do some quick housekeeping. Come join the Discord. We hang out there. People watch movies there. People play Tabletop Simulator on there. I guess you can play 40K on. Well, I not guess. I know you can. I've done a couple games myself. It's pretty cool. You can move the models and like download infinite maps and all that kind of stuff. So,
surprised it hasn't replaced the tabletop game altogether at this point.
You can't replace the plastic crack. I want to touch it, sniff it, hold it, put it in my mouth. Yeah.
All right.
Painted or unpainted?
I'll take whatever, man. I'm not picky.
I find the paint kind of like takes away from the lead taste. You kind of smell the full lead in the mouthfeel.
Yeah, the lead's nice. Or when you find a bit that you lost in the floor for like a week and you're like, it's got a couple like hairs on it, dust.
Delicious.
I'll take it however I can get it. But yeah, come join the Discord. And I don't know how we segued the meat eating bits off the floor and Christian liking iron or whatever.
Lead.
Yeah, it's lead. Yes.
Preferred flavor. Yeah. I'm gonna be so for real for you guys. Come join the Patreon. The Empire needs your support. The Imperial tithe needs bodies for the meat grinder, and we need dollars to keep the show running. So you can always support the show, get the ad-free version for only $2.50, which is a steal, or the live stream version for $5. A little pricier, but totally worth it.
Absolutely. And if you do join the Patreon, you can also jump in on the live stream with us for all those Patreon members. We also have a live chat room going during the show, and we occasionally do call in guests at the end of the episode. So you get access to all those good things as well.
Yeah, if you want to be a call and you have something you're just dying to say, just say so in the chat. Like, hey, I want to call in, and we'll get you on. Even if it's in the middle of the episode, hey, no one's paying attention to the rules. No, Lorehammer Legal rarely gets involved unless it's like a touch action lawsuit. And, that doesn't happen too much now that we're doing live streams. So we're good to go. Yeah, let's dive into Roboute Guilliman. In this episode, we're going to do the classic Origins and Great Crusade. And the next episode will be, the Horror of Heresy and the Great Scouring. But yeah, this episode, we're going to dive into Macragge, him as the son of Macragge, just kind of his origins on that planet. Some things happens. He builds an empire, but he builds one unlike any other Primarch. Then we'll go into the Great Crusade. He meets the Emperor and so forth. Honestly, not a lot happens to him. Like, here's the thing about Roboute Guilliman. Like, nothing interesting happens to him because he's just good old reliable. He's going to win every battle. He has the highest record, but there's not a lot of battles. I did find two that are kind of interesting, and that's the raising of Monarchia. And that's not necessarily even a battle in the Great Crusade. And then also the Battle of the Urian Dice Terminal. And that one was more just whatever. It was interesting, but we'll get into that one as well. And then we'll cover his personality, appearance, war gear. And Guilliman wrote a bunch of books. Of course, he wrote the Codex Astartes. We won't talk about that one in this episode because he wouldn't have wrote it yet. But he has 4 others that we'll talk about. He's a bunch of cool quotes and stuff. So that's what we're getting into.
He's a renowned and published author.
Yes. Published across 500 worlds.
Yes. Many talents.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's jump right into his origins and the Great Crusade. Man, now I'm saying it in French in my mind now every time I see it.
It's fucked already.
Roboute Guilliman, known as the Avenging Sun, the Victorious, the Master of Ultramar, and the Blade of Unity, stands among the genetic sons of the Emperor of Mankind as Primarch of the Ultramarines, the legion wrought from his design. A peerless commander and disciplined statesman who governed a thriving interstellar realm before reunion with his father, Guilliman distinguished himself among his brother Primarchs by embracing not only conquest, but construction, order forged from compliance, and prosperity rising from war. He viewed empire as architecture, war as instrument, and humanity as a destiny to be shaped through reason, in addition to commanding the largest Space Marine legion during the Great Crusade, the Ultramarines.
Now, into the Primarch project. Through the disciplined record of Imperial iterators, the life of Roboute Guilliman stands clear. His youth, his rise, his reunion with the Imperium. Strip away ceremony, and truth remains. His ascent was not by accident, but architecture, order, foresight, and design. The Emperor forged 20 Primarchs from his own perfected genecraft, leaders engineered for conquest and governance alike. Each was shaped with singular strengths, honed by science and the disciplined mysteries of the Immaterium. They were not merely generals, they were instruments of destiny. The ruinous power scattered them, hurling their gestation capsules into the warp and across the galaxy. Some were scarred by that passage. Not all emerged whole. The consequences would unfold in time. Cast upon distant human worlds, each Primarch was tested by environment and necessity. Some became tyrants. Some became saviors. All were shaped by their crucible. Guilliman's capsule fell upon Macragge, a disciplined world in the eastern fringe.
Yeah, so we know this story pretty good by now, 13 Primarchs in, but you have to share it anyways, but we'll carry on quickly. Before the Great Crusade, Macragge stood as one of humanity's lost colonies, governed by a dual authority vested in two consuls. It was a stern but viable world, rock-bound and austere, its terrain dominated by vast mountain ranges that claimed more than 3/4 of its surface, much of it barren and unforgiving. Once a province of a greater stellar dominion, forged in the dark age of technology, Macragge endured through long centuries of isolation with discipline and purpose. Its industries survived the age of strife in functional strength, and its people maintained a hierarchical society that valued order above indulgence. Notably, Macragge preserved several ancient warp-capable vessels suited for near-stellar passage when conditions allowed, and continued the measured construction of sublight craft even at the height of the warp's fiercest tempests. Through calculated risk and resolute governance, its leaders sustained contact with neighboring human systems despite the storm's fury. Thus, Macragge retained not only trade and communication, but conviction, the rationale, certainty that humanity persisted beyond the void, and that isolation was a challenge to be mastered, not a fate to be endured. Yeah, Macragge, it's a cool spot. It's kind of gets isolated by a bunch of warp storms. Most of the places do. It's cool how it kind of drives this idea, and I like that they kind of have the idea that there's people out there, so it's only a matter of time they can get off world again and go find some people, get some more trade going and whatever, and then they might get isolated again, but whatever.
They do what they can with what they have. The sun.
I picture, and I think a lot of people do, this place becoming Rome. At like its peak or whatever, we picture Roboute Guilliman wearing all the leather tassels and the Roman 6-pack armor and stuff. But at this point, I don't think it's like that. I think Guilliman turns it into that place. Like, yeah, it's got order and structure and society and all that, but Guilliman really takes in, like, he's known as an architecture as well, and like a vibesman, as they call him.
A vibesman.
Yeah, he's got a good vibe.
He vibe coded his chapter. Yeah, isn't Macragge kind of like more barren and rocky outcrops, or am I mistaken about that?
Yeah, and in 40K, the only real notable feature is like this massive fortress monastery, where like in 30K, it doesn't even really have too much of that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sticking to what you're saying, kind of that like Romanesque inspired, at least the terrain would be kind of Mediterranean feeling to me, with like big mountain ranges, kind of rocky-ish, which could
I don't know if I think like, wine country in Italy.
There are significant portions of both Italy and Greece that are quite
I know, like rocky and
yeah. That's what comes to my mind when I think of it, and it might be just because I'm already tainted of the mind with Rome. But
Max Machina in the comments says Roberto Quesadilla Man.
Roberto. That's his Spanish name. That's how you pronounce it in Spanish.
Yeah.
So we got the French version, the Spanish version.
I do have a little.
Someone want to do the Indian version?
Legally, no. Legally.
I have. Actually, I guess we might as well address it now since we're talking about Roboute's name. It is an odd name, considering like a lot of the Primarchs carry kind of like these pseudo-Latin names. You have like Corvus Corax and Ferrus Manus, like really on the nose.
Yeah, Iron Hand guy is called Ferrus Manus. You're like, oh.
And Raven. Yeah.
Okay, I was actually gonna say this. I've always thought Roboute and Lionel Johnson are kind of the two sort of silliest sounding names for Primarchs for like these demigods. They almost kind of sound a little ridiculous, but maybe that was just me. I didn't want to say anything because I'm like, is that just me or?
Yeah, no, it makes sense that Lionel Johnson is like, no, please just call me the Lion, please.
Yeah. Like if he was just called the Lion, but Lionel, like Lionel Johnson.
This is our Primarch Chuck.
Yeah.
The warp not only tainted their bodies, but also their names. They used to have such sweet, cool names, and then
Maximus machine guns. Yeah. On that note, though, oftentimes their names are kind of like tied to something about them or their backstory or some kind of mythology that kind of makes them cool. But oddly enough, like even Lionel Johnson, the whole reason behind his name is he's like named after a real life poet who wrote the Dark Angel, right? These like connections.
Yeah.
But with Roboute, I like calling him Roboute better personally, but his name sounds kind of French-ish. Guilliman kind of sounds like the French version of William. And Roboute is almost like Robert. So Robert William. And like there's been a lot of great Roberts and Williams in history. So it's like, which is that just broadly because there's so many people with those names that they're kind of like referencing, or is there like a particular person in history? Which I couldn't find anything like concrete about like what his background is or what his name is tied to. There's also a Bretonnian, I think the third king of Bretonia was named Guilliman, which is the same as William in French, and the Bretonians are very French coded too, which is again odd, and especially like the whole vibe of the Ultramarines and Macragge and Ultramar are all very Rome coded, like we were saying. Like you'd expect like maybe a Latin name. He looks like Julius, like common depictions of Julius Caesar. So you think maybe his name would be Jules or something like that. But it's just kind of odd and out of nowhere. Roboute, man, every time I say it, it's going to be weird. But yeah, Roboute's name is kind of like weird as an outlier.
Apparently, Rick Priestley has said it was a name he made up that sounded like a West Indian revolutionary in a French colony, possibly Haiti. Now that sounds like an oddly specific quote from a dude.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things I regret not asking him about when we interviewed him.
Oh, goddamn, hey.
Yeah, who's Roboute? And how do you
Were
say
you guys using like an early chatbot generator for names that was spitting out those kind of names? What was happening?
Yeah, it's just very strange. And also the fact that it's like French coded in a, again, Latin, Roman inspired faction. And that they're British too, that would have named them something French coded is also strange, but I digress. But yeah, he has that like Caesarean.
Yeah.
Really quickly to just another aside. I do wonder. So did you know Ultramar was actually an oil company that has like a golden eagle and has like a golden blue logo, and it's based I believe out of Quebec, which is French. Yeah, but it's French, and I think it. So I pulled them up here. They were founded in 1961, so definitely predate 40K. And it's such a random thing, but like maybe someone was in Quebec, and then that's when they conceived the Ultramarines.
Crawl out of the rabbit hole.
Primarch.
Crawl on out here. Come on, it's okay to see light every now and then.
I'm feeling a little schizophrenic, but sometimes I wonder what the French are up to.
Yeah, as any smart person would. Yeah.
Anyways, sorry for that aside. Let's get back to the son of Macragge. Thus, when the fallen capsule of the Primarch was discovered by Macraggian magnates during a hunt in a nearby forest, they recognized it at once as an artifact of advanced design, not a thing of superstition or myth. With disciplined resolve, they breached its seal and beheld within a flawless human child, radiant with a controlled aura of golden light. The infant was presented to Konor Guilliman, one of the 2 consuls whose authority governed the most ordered and prosperous domain of Macragge, centered upon Macragge Civitas. In accordance with custom and reason, Konor claimed the child as his son and named him Roboute. The Primarch matured with unnatural swiftness, and with each passing year, his exceptional capacities became undeniable. By his 10th Terran year, he had surpassed the accumulated instruction of Macragge's most learned tutors. His command of history, philosophy, and science was comprehensive. His memory exact, his capacity to derive precise conclusions from incomplete data bordered not on mysticism, but on disciplined genius. He did not merely learn, he synthesized, structured, and improved. He's smarter than most chatbots these days. Yet his supreme aptitude manifested in the science of war, a discipline held in high esteem with Macragge's ordered society. Upon reaching his legal majority, Roboute was granted command of an expeditionary force tasked with pacifying the northern reaches of the world. That region, known as Illyrium, was fractured into warring microstates and lawless enclaves long given to raiding and mercenary strife. Roboute conducted a calculated and decisive campaign, breaking resistance not through excess, but through strategy, securing both compliance and respect from the Illyrian warbands. When he returned from the northern frontier, victorious and assured, he found Macragge Civitas not in triumph, but in unrest.
Yeah, so then you get like this story, and this seems like it's straight out of Rome, even going north and fighting like barbarians and whatever, and using superior tactics on them and coming back and everything's fucked. Maybe that's not exactly how that happened. You know, Rome has a long history, but you know, there's snippets of that throughout it.
Mm-hmm. All right. The death of Konor Guilliman. In Roboute Guilliman's absence, the co-consul, Galen, attempted a calculated seizure of power, backed by elements of Macragge's ancient aristocracy. He moved against Konor Guilliman, whose reforms had curtailed hereditary dominance and elevated merit, industry, and lawful governance over privilege. Konor had compelled the noble houses to restore infrastructure, expand the capital, and grant defined rights to those who labored beneath them. He shifted authority from lineage to productivity. The people prospered. The entrenched elite seethed. As Guilliman returned at the head of a victorious host, smoke veiled Macragge Civitas. Galen's forces had struck the Senate House. Rebellion spread through riot and fire. Guilliman acted without hesitation. His troops restored order, street by street, while he advanced to the civic heart. There he found devastation, and beneath it, Konor mortally wounded, having held the defense for 3 days against treachery. With his final strength, Konor named the conspirators, Guilliman answered not with uncontrolled fury, but with disciplined resolve. The revolt was dismantled methodically. Mercenary hosts were crushed. The cost of sedition was made unmistakable. Gallon and the principal architects of the treason were publicly judged and executed. Lesser accomplices were condemned to rebuild the city that they had endangered. Justice was corrective and absolute. Assuming the mantle of sole consul, Guilliman dissolved the corrupt aristocratic order. Lands and titles were stripped from the faithless. Advancement was bound to loyalty, competence, and service. Soldiers and citizens who had stood firm were elevated. Governance became merit, codified. Macragge was reorganized into a disciplined state. Its economy rationalized, its technology distributed, its military reforged into a modern instrument of planetary defense. Under Guilliman's command, Macragge did not merely survive rebellion. It emerged unified, one people, ordered by law, advancing with purpose beneath his deliberate and unassailable rule.
Cool. Yeah, like most of Primarchs, he gets his planet in line. I wonder what level of technology they have here. Like we were talking about, they do have warp-capable craft and stuff. But, you know, it could be Dark Age tech to them that they might not understand, and they might still be fighting with swords and stuff, you know? What do you think? I know there's books on it. Do they kind of mention it at all?
I try to avoid Ultramarine literature personally, so I can't speak to that.
It's too codified for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't see... I mean, like, Angron's world is also very Romanesque. And they have pretty advanced tech, so I don't know. I don't see why they wouldn't have like modern / sci-fi tech personally.
Yeah, and maybe like even this last little bit was its economy rationalized, its technologies distributed, its military reforged into a modern instrument of planetary defense. And I reworded that slightly or whatever, but you know, the concept is maybe they had just some technology. Like, yeah, they have warp-capable craft and, like, combines, but they might not have laser cannons because they've never really needed it or something like that. Or it's only reserved for a couple people or something like that.
Let me tell you, military tech is the first tech to improve. Everything else follows from there.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I've seen humans. I've dealt with them a couple times.
Yeah,
okay,
you know what they're like, those greasy bastards.
Fuck, I hate them. Yeah, the comment says, I think they have intersystem warp jumps like another Blue Man group. Yeah, we did mention that, like, they do have those craft or whatever, but yeah, just because you have one technology, especially since you're from the dark age of technology, doesn't mean you have access to all the technology that led up to that technology, you know? All right. Well, he gets his planet in line and creates Ultramar. As Roboute Guilliman prosecuted his northern campaign in Irelia, the Emperor's Preceptia Imperialis fleet of the Great Crusade translated into the Espandor system in approximately 832 M30. So that's where Roboute Guilliman is from, the Espandor system. Excellent. It's all coming from the Espandorians. The Emperor learned a disciplined world ruled by a reforming council and his extraordinary son. In that account, he recognized the unmistakable mark of one of his lost Primarchs. Some have argued that the Emperor's arrival in the distant eastern fringe, far from the primary axis of the Crusade's advance, was no coincidence, but the product of design or precedence calculation, or prescient calculation. Whether guided by foresight or strategic necessity, his presence in the region would soon prove consequential. Yet events did not unfold according to immediate design. As the Imperial fleet advanced toward Macragge, violent warp disturbances surged across the void, isolating the system and several neighboring stars from approach. The Imperium itself imposed delay, interdicting even the Emperor's progress. Confronted by forces that demanded patience rather than defiance, The fleet withdrew to await favorable conditions. Nearly 5 standard years would pass before contact could be at last attempted under stable passage. In the intervening years, though, Macragge was remade. It emerged a world defined by symmetry, discipline, and productivity. Its cities rose anew in marble and steel, monuments not to vanity, but permanence. Its army stood in ordered ranks fully armed and systematically supplied, preparing not merely for defense, but for deliberate expansion beyond their native sphere. Yeah, so Guilliman gets going quick and hard.
That's the best way to be.
Yeah. Like I was saying, he kind of brings that like Roman vibe to him, though. He brings like super order, symmetry, discipline, productivity. Like he brings or architecture eventually too.
And civil war, unfortunately. Really, it's Guilliman's fault that the Horus Heresy happened.
Hey,
Little known fact.
Yeah, that's true. Hey.
Let's get to the arrival of another Roman Empire with its own emperor. Even before the emperors arrived.
Enough Rome on Rome violence, please.
Dude, if ever there was going to be an episode where we go off on Rome, this will be it. This and all the Ultramarine episodes after it. Even before the emperor's arrival, Roboute Guilliman had studied the recovered archives of the displaced aristocracy, examining fragments that spoke of humanity's ancient stellar dominions during the Age of Technology. From those records, he derived not nostalgia, but direction. He conceived of a renewed expansion of territories beyond the Void's horizon, articulated in archaic Skolum script as Ultramar, a realm beyond the seas of night, structured by law and sustained by reason. By calculated initiative, he enacted his vision. Within the warp-shielded enclave surrounding Macragge, disciplined fleets established secure and patrolled trade corridors with neighboring systems. Resources, citizens, and knowledge flowed inward, strengthening the core. Where instability threatened the wider region, swift and contained campaigns imposed compliance and restored order. Expansion proceeded not as a reckless conquest, but as a strategic consolidation. Yeah, I mean, that pretty much defines how the Ultramarines do business. They're not just like war front, burn everything in their path, and then consider it conquered. They're actually like building systems as they go that kind of create a positive feedback loop back to Ultramar.
Yeah.
When the Emperor at last beheld what his lost son had achieved in 837 M30, he found not a warlord grasping at dominion, but a ruler who had already constructed it. Their meeting required no careful tempering, no restraint against savagery. Unlike some of his more tempestuous brothers, such as Leman Russ, Ferrus Manus, Mortarion, and Vulcan, Guilliman received the truth of his origin with clarity. Upon learning he had been engineered, not born, for a singular purpose, he pledged immediate and unwavering fealty to the Emperor he recognized as both creator and sovereign. Imperial observers quickly discerned in Roboute Guilliman as an analytical intellect of rare magnitude, formidable even among Primarchs. His mastery of governance and large-scale organization revealed capacity far exceeding regional ambition. Yet even then, few fully comprehended what such disciplined vision applied to the vast enterprise of the Great Crusade would ultimately accomplish.
Yeah, very cool. Like the Emperor shows up and he already is like, okay, so you're ready to go. Not like some of the other ones, which are fun to interact with. It's fun to like have a drinking contest with Russ, I guess, but it's even funny when he already has an army.
Yeah, and he's already making like designs towards like Imperial conquests. He's already obviously managed to do it himself, even without the backing of the Imperium. Like,
you know, it is kind of a interesting existential question that was like brought up in the script, that when he finds out that he was bioengineered, he actually like pledges fealty to the Emperor, which is interesting. I wonder what would your guys' gut reaction if you discovered that about yourself? Like, how would you respond to that? Would you be angry, or would you be like, wow, this gives me a great sense of purpose and meaning in life?
I think for me, like, if you get too personal, like I would have a pretty nice worldview, find out that there is a creator and that you are designed for a purpose with a tool. Yeah, that would be nice if there's like clarity. There'd be comfort in that. And you like, just imagine looking to the vast cold distance of space and like, oh, damn. So yeah, I think it'd be nice. Like he kind of accepts his place as like a tool in this bigger machine organization. Purpose, meaning.
Yeah, like I wonder if a lot of people would think, oh, my whole life is a lie. Like I never knew this from the time I was born, blah, blah, blah. Like I think I could see people responding in both ways.
Yeah, I was going to say it's
probably
has more to do with the temperament of the person initially. Some people might rage against that and be like, no, I'm the master of my fate.
Right.
And then others might be like, oh, finally, that's what I've been looking for, is a sense of purpose my whole life. Glad that that's work is done for me. I can just go ahead and do it.
Yeah. Well, like, yeah.
I guess I suppose what the purpose is also might have something to do with it. If it just turns out that Mark was always supposed to be a sex bot, I mean, good fate, bad fate.
Good sex bot there. New York back alley. It never gets cleaned.
Your purpose is to breed.
Good for you, buddy.
Just a useless breeder. Okay. All right. Should we get into unification of the body and soul? The 13th Legion of Space Marines, long known as the Warborn, was swiftly entrusted to Guilliman's command, for the Primarch required little instruction in comprehending the Greater Imperium, the scope of the Great Crusade, or the advanced instruments of compliance at his disposal. His intellect absorbed the realities of the wider galaxy with disciplined speed, integrating strategy, logistics, and doctrine into a coherent worldview. Yeah, again, it'd be interesting, like, to go to like a society that's probably much more advanced than the only one you knew, and not be like completely jarred and have like ontological shock that you but you're just like, you take it in stride and you're like, all right, sweet, roger that, let's keep going.
Moving.
Yeah. That's like, that'd be tough, I think, for a lot of people to do. Most people wouldn't have the mental fortitude to do something like that.
But you're talking about the most mentally fortuitous.
Yes, exactly.
I don't even think fortuitous is the right word for that, but yes.
Yeah, but I'm more thinking like putting yourself in that position. You know, it's like, ooh, that'd be like crazy.
Yeah, if I told you tomorrow that yes, aliens are real, this is their advanced tech, throw you into the middle of like a whole universe that you didn't know existed, and also this is your purpose and you're a sex robot, like that's a lot of information.
Even in that universe, you're still a sex robot, eh? All universes, every
iteration, yes.
And the entire
Listen, Christian,
you are a sex bot.
You're not only supposed to be servicing the streets of New York. You're supposed to be serving Xenos and demons.
Fate worse than death. All right, go on.
The 13th received him with disciplined pride, recognizing in Guilliman not merely the gene sire, but a unifying authority. When he addressed them, he did so with structured clarity, articulating the purpose of the crusade and the future he intended them to build. His vision dispelled uncertainty and focused ambition. Records attest that the transition of command was executed with precision and cohesion. The Legion aligned to his will without fracture. Yet, Guilliman did not content himself with inheritance. He initiated reform. His aim was not a legion distinguished only by battlefield prowess, but an autonomous instrument of conquest and governance. A force capable of securing compliance, sustaining order, and enabling expansion without reliance upon fragile external systems. The 13th would become an embodiment of imperial strength, directed through disciplined command. To Guilliman, a legion was not defined solely by its warriors. It encompassed the fleets that conveyed them, the supply chains that armed them, and the manufactoria that sustained them, and the populated worlds that generated their recruits. These elements were inseparable, forming a single strategic organism. He resolved that all such components would operate in concert under his authority, ensuring resilience, efficiency, fidelity to the emperor's design. Accordingly, he did not regard Macragge merely as a homeworld or recruiting source, as many of his brothers did with their own domains. Instead, he established it as a central fulcrum of a wider, expanding system of supply, production, and governance. The neighboring worlds, long connected to Macragge, would serve as its foundation, but never its limit. Thus began the deliberate construction of what would be known as the realm of Ultramar, a project measured not in campaigns, but in decades. It would expand methodically, strengthening in structure and cohesion, until the first treacherous blow of the Horus heresy sought to test its foundations.
Nice. One brick by brick, they slowly build. Then you build safe roads. Nice. Then you tax the citizen. You build more roads for them. And you have so many roads, and you can transport yourself anywhere. It's perfect.
It's an infinite feedback loop. You pay taxes for more roads, and more roads lead to taxes. It's a perfect system of governance, Jordan.
Is it now?
Don't mock it till you try it, Jordan. It's not cute, okay, buddy?
I think we've been doing it for quite a long time, actually.
Yeah, Guilliman seems like, of all the places in 40K, he actually might have the spot, especially in this era where, he's not going to those places and destroying and rebuilding. It's like, hey, we can make this place better. This is how. He already has all the plans laid out. He's like, yeah, you don't even have to say there's a god emperor or nothing. Just come be productive. The Eagle of the East. As decisively as he enacted the foundations of Ultramar, Roboute Guilliman initiated a comprehensive reorganization of his legion. Drawing upon the military traditions of civic philosophies of Macragge and the informed by rigorous study of the 13th Legion's past, alongside the structure of every legion and armed formations in Imperial service. He redefined its hierarchy, logistics, and battlefield doctrine with deliberate precision. The result was a force both intricate and disciplined, governed by merit and structured for endurance. It preserved the inherent strength already present within the 13th, traits long shaped by their gene seed, yet subjected them to systematic refinement. Through analysis and reason, Guilliman identified inefficiencies, corrected imbalances, and eliminated structural weaknesses, always pursuing the most effective military expression of imperial power. He did not consider this reform complete, but iterative. Living, I'm assuming that word means. From the emerged a dual doctrine, one rooted in the enduring virtues of a warrior, courage, discipline, skill, adaptability, defined as the practical expression of strength. The other grounded in planning, precedent, analysis, and measured assessment, defined as the theoretical architecture of victory. Neither stood above the other, each informed and tempered its counterpart, fused together with the cohesion of tempered steel. This synthesis became the Legion's guiding creed. As with the society he forged upon Macragge, Guilliman shaped the 13th into an instrument both efficient and just. Individual ambition was subordinated to collective purpose, yet no legionary life was to be expended without necessity. His doctrine maintained that every warrior loss diminished the whole. Preservation and decisive action were not contradictions, but strategic imperatives. Within this order, excellence was recognized and advancement earned through proven merit. honor, and responsibility were granted to those who demonstrated capability. Yet obedience to established command remained absolute. The transformation was visible as well as structural. The Legion's livery was standardized to deep blue adorned with gold, symbolizing unity and authority. The ancient Ultima glyph, recovered from pre-isolation stellar charts of Ultramar region, was adopted as their sigil, binding them to the expanded domain they represented. With the names Ultramarines, Guilliman and the Legion committed themselves to carry the Great Crusade as far as required until its purpose was achieved. Yeah. Crazy. They sound really cool. Like, just if ever this guy you want to work for, that's a good boss, man. He's like, don't worry, I got everything you need here and pizza's on the way. And you're like, oh fuck. He's like, it'll take you 22 minutes and then you can chill for a bit. Go do some art, I guess. Make the world better somehow. Like, oh, okay, fuck. Cool.
Yeah. They were blue before Guilliman, right? Or were they not?
Let's
know?
check the War Dogs.
They had rainbow paint, Christian.
No, the Rainbow Marines are another faction, Jordan. Yeah. They it's interesting too that their symbol was this like ancient rune or glyph that they found, which I like to think might have accidentally been an omega that was just accidentally upside down and they found it and they're like, oh yeah, that's totally a U. Or they found an more ancient relic from Terra, the Indianapolis Colts jersey, long buried
ancient relic from a game called Sports Ball. I don't think there's a lot of information on the War Dogs pre
Warborn.
Yeah.
It's because you're looking up the wrong. Yeah.
Fucking dumb idiot. This is why I'm not in management.
You were thinking of Warhounds too.
Yeah. Hard to say, my friend. Hard to say. I'll keep looking after it.
All right. Well, while you do that, let's get into the Great Crusade. Here we have a quote by Guilliman himself. I'm sure there are many of those floating around. The warrior who acts out of honor cannot fail. His duty is honor itself. Even his death, if it is honorable, is a reward and can be no failure, for it has come through duty. Seek honor as you act, therefore, and you will know no fear. Yeah. It's a pretty good quote, actually. I feel like our society has trouble understanding like honor, like historically, from a historical perspective. There are still cultures out there that still have honor cultures, but I think a lot of Western societies don't quite understand honor anymore, or kleos and time, as the Greeks would say. But it sounds like a pretty generic quote, but if you know like historical ideas of like honor being like this real, almost tangible thing that you could like have, and yeah, I don't know. That's just my feeling while I was reading it. I tend to have those sometimes.
I don't like it. Put it away. Get that shit away from my. I don't know if this is a Warborn, but I'm pretty sure it is. Kind of black with blue.
Black and blue, eh? They got beat up a lot.
Hard to say though.
All right. With the sole exception of the Luna Wolves, no legion matched the Ultramarines in the number of worlds brought to compliance, the speed of their campaigns, or the stability imposed thereafter during the Great Crusade. Guilliman did not regard conquest as complete upon victory. He remained until each liberated world possessed a functional defense network, structured governance, viable industry, and integrated trade routes binding it to the Imperium. Advisors were appointed to ensure that civil order, economic productivity, and the welfare of the population formed the enduring foundation of compliance. Yeah, honestly, like he gets a lot of flack for being like boring and stuff, but these are like the important things about conquest. Like, again, we've said it before. He's not leaving behind like burned out ruins and like destroyed cities. He's like building infrastructure and economy and tying it back to the Imperium and making these like really solid investments that won't have a reason to rebel. Or
I do appreciate that he's very much like a systems thinker. You know, every society is a complex system, and managing a complex system is how you keep that society from falling apart. And I do think that is actually, like, again, it's not the sexy part of, wouldn't be the sexy part of a story, but just, you know, sort of including it that he does do that, I think adds just a layer of like believability to at least one of the Primarchs, because their role is so important, and they're not just you know, badass warriors, but like they actually have a little more depth, and they do like the really important stuff that is necessary in building an empire.
Yeah, you have to be smart to be a great general for sure, but like this is a different level of intellect than what he has, you know. And yeah, all the Primarchs have kind of that same tier, like so far above what any human can do, but then he takes even that further step. But
yeah. In A Song of Ice and Fire, they, like, I think George R. R. Martin kind of contrasts like a powerful warrior king like Robert Baratheon. Like, he's a really good fighter, but he's a crappy ruler. And then there's other people who are like better rulers, and oftentimes they're like appointed by the king, because the king, obviously, you don't always get to pick. But the king can appoint someone who is like very civic minded and is able to, like, hopefully, if you have a good investment in who you choose, is like wise and actually does the real day-to-day ruling of the kingdom, right? The king can sit on his throne, make his proclamations, do this and that, and get the credit. But it's like that hand of the king who like actually does all the administrative work that makes this operation run. And Guilliman is both a great warrior and a great king.
a left and right hand he has. Oh, so special.
Yes. Concurrently, Guilliman. Sorry, was I reading? I got lost there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Concurrently, Guilliman refined Macragge and its surrounding systems into a highly efficient military and administrative nexus. This integrated apparatus sustained a constant and disciplined influx of recruits to the Legion. Combined with the Primarch's strategic precision and preference for calculated engagements over wasteful expenditure of lives, the Ultramarines achieved decisive results with comparatively limited casualties. In time, they stood among the largest and most formidable of the Legion's Astartes. Mark, I don't know if you're going to get into this later. There are some rumors about how their ranks also swelled, but I don't know if you want to the Ultramarine episode itself.
Yeah, that'd be on the Ultramarine side of things.
Okay, well, I'll leave that there. Obviously, if you are good at recruiting and you're not wasting lives like the world leaders, your Legion's numbers are inevitably going to grow. But there's more to that story, I believe. When the Emperor elevated Horus to the rank of War Master, reaction among the Primarchs varied. Some were guided by loyalty, others by rivalry or restrained acceptance. Guilliman, alongside Rogel Dorn and Jagtai Khan, offered measured support. In their estimation, Horus possessed the necessary authority and capability to direct the Crusade's expanding frontiers. Horus, in turn, valued Guilliman and Dorn highly, recognizing in both an analytical clarity and operational mastery essential to grand strategy. Privately, Guilliman accorded particular respect to Dorn, Sanguinius, Leman Russ, and Ferrus Manus. He regarded them as steadfast exemplars of martial excellence, once naming them the Dauntless Few, and stating that with any one of their legions fighting beside his own, victory in any theater was assured. Relations with Lorgar, however, deteriorated sharply after the Emperor ordered the raising of Monarchia and the censure of the word-bearers, an action carried out by the Ultramarines. Guilliman executed the command precisely and without outward dissent, affirming imperial authority before Lorgar. Yet he did not undertake it lightly. The use of his legion as an instrument of rebuke troubled him, and he recognized that the act had driven a lasting division between the Ultramarines and the word-bearers, one born not of strategy, but of principle. Yeah, so you're just getting a snapshot of Guilliman and his relationship with all his brothers.
Yeah, and like he is good with everyone. He's just one of those guys. He's hard to argue with. He's not very controversial. He's probably got a good opinion on whatever topic you have to ask him about, whether it's like philosophy or like war or just whatever the Primarchs are interested in. Like, he'll know about it. He's whatever. There's a joke about him having autism somewhere in there, and that's how he acquires so much information. But who needs to make jokes about Primarchs? You know, they were really goofy.
All right, let's get into the Ultramarines. During the Great Crusade, the Ultramarines operated as a disciplined instrument of expansion, distinguished not merely by battlefield success, but by systemic mastery. Under the command of Roboute Guilliman, they waged war with calculated precision, deploying overwhelming force where required, yet avoiding wasteful attrition through planning, coordination, and logistical superiority. Every campaign was conceived as a sequence within a larger design, compliance secured, infrastructure stabilized, governance established, and integration into the Imperium ensured before advancing. Their strength lay in this union of martial excellence and administrative foresight. The Ultramarines believed that victory was not destruction alone, but the imposition of order that would endure. Courage and discipline defined the individual legionary. Structure, adaptability, and reason defined the legion as a whole. They did not fight for glory or spectacle, but for permanence. Each conquest another deliberate step toward a unified, rational Imperium. Quote, "They shall be pure of heart and strong of body, untainted by doubt and unsullied by self-aggrandizement. They will be bright stars on the firmament of battle, angels of death whose shining wings bring swift annihilation to the enemies of man." End quote. Primarch Roboute Guilliman about the Ultramarines.
He's very good at writing like heroically and like propagandistically.
Some might say inspirationally, Mark.
He's like he's like the 40K Seneca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Looper call.
Yeah, the Ultramarines they get a lot of guys going. Sorry, Christian. They get a lot of guys going in the Great Crusade. Like I think they had like 200,000 at one point.
Yeah, I think it's 250,000 if I'm not mistaken, but you could probably look that up. In the chat, the Looper Call TV says Roboute's mottos should be spreadsheet, conquer, TED Talk. Works in the war room, works in the bedroom. And yeah, I mean, if you want to be a good sex bot, you gotta.
Oh God! All right, which Xenos, Christian, is your favorite to fuck? Is it like the virus that like squid one that's like all about the performance? You know, very elaborate sex botting there. Or do you have to work up to any?
No, first of all, it's a sense of duty, so I have no preference. But Tyranids for sure. The point is to breed, Mark, and Tyranids are hands down the most breedable Xenos.
Okay.
Did we lose you over there, Mark?
Hooves as well. They're so cute with the little hooves. All right. Reading and it will work itself out. In its totality, the realm of Ultramar is founded upon discipline, industry, yet avoids the corrosive excesses that affects many of the manufacturing centers of the Imperium. Production is structured, efficient, and regulated to be preserved long-term viability rather than expended worlds in pursuit of short gain. The infrastructure of each system reflects deliberate planning, industry integrated with expansion aligned sustainability. its people its people by a culture that esteems contribution and disdains industry, by carefully maintained agriculture, regions and oceans cultivated for sustenance, securing its own raw materials, food supplies, and industrial capacity. This autonomy ensures resilience against distribution and strengthens the cohesion of the greater whole. In stability, prosperity, and structural integrity, Ultramar stands as a model. Its order, the result of foresight. Its abundance, the product of design. With its integration into the Imperium during the Great Crusade, Ultramar was structured as a realm within a greater whole, bound in loyalty to the Emperor, yet granted operational autonomy under the direct authority of Roboute Guilliman. All within its borders were Imperial subjects, but Guilliman stood as the supreme governor, responsible for harmonizing regional governance with a wider strategic aim of the Crusade. Authority flowed downward with clarity of purpose and upward with accountability. Sorry for anyone watching live. I guess I'm breaking out here. I don't know where I'm at, but
yeah, no, you're good there. You cleared up towards the end. Technical difficulties. If only Guilliman was in charge of our internet, this wouldn't happen.
God, yeah.
All right, let's get into the authority and leadership. In the era when Ultramar encompassed 500 worlds, Guilliman instituted the office of Tetrarch, appointing 4 senior lieutenants drawn from pivotal systems to oversee major territorial divisions. This framework ensured distributed oversight without fragmentation of command. Beneath the Tetrarchs operated Imperial commanders, many with close ties to the Ultramarines, ensuring coordination between civil administration and military authority. Individual worlds were governed by noble houses, whose legitimacy derived from service and loyalty to Guilliman as Lord of Macragge. Their mandate extended beyond the tithe and levy. They were charged with cultivating economic stability, civic order, and the welfare of their populations, recognizing that prosperity strengthened compliance. Though many worlds retained feudal structures led by established houses, these operated within a codified system of obligation and oversight. Above all stood the Council of Greater Ultramar, composed of the realm's senior officials and tetrarchs, serving not as a rival power, but as an advisory and administrative instrument within Guilliman's overarching design. Ultramar was thus neither independent nor subordinate in weakness. It was integrated, ordered, and governed according to principle. Yeah, it's actually kind of cool with the Ultramarines. They have a level of integration with the civilian population. Oftentimes you'll find Space Marine chapters are like very either segregated from the civilians. They kind of live in their fortress monasteries away from people and then just kind of like descend from the heavens to recruit and then go back. Whereas the Ultramarines are like very integrated with the governance of the 500 worlds, which is a pretty unique facet to them. And obviously that ties to the Primarch and how he runs things, but he also trusts like his lieutenants to be governors as well as warriors. So, yeah.
All right. Someone will battle of the Eurydice. Is that how you guys say it? Eurydice terminal. Determined to answer the severe losses inflicted upon the Ultramarines by the Osirian Cybirds during the Osiris Rebellion, Roboute Guilliman initiated a calculated campaign to locate and eliminate the elusive Xenos threat. Numerous investigations and abandoned trails preceded a success until intelligence reports confirmed contact at the Eurydice terminal, where the warhounds under Urad Krug had encountered vessels matching Cybird configurations while engaged against the orcs of the Glortian Empire. Guilliman redirected his forces without hesitation, intent on decisive resolution. Upon arrival, the system was a desolated theater of atomic devastation. 7 cybirds constructs maneuvered amid the chaotic engagement with orc warfleets, while the remnants of several warhounds held positions aboard the battle cruisers Cold Cerberus. They reported that the cybirds had subjugated feral orc populations through psychic domination and sought to extend a similar control over the Imperial defenders of Eurydice. Guilliman committed his legion to relieve their allies, yet made clear that the eradication of the Xenos command would be undertaken by the Ultramarines alone. Through prior analysis of the Cybirds' methods, Guilliman had identified the fulcrum of their strength, the directing intelligences rather than the enthralled auxiliaries. He therefore ordered concentrated assaults against the alien vessels themselves, executing a rapid boarding offensive under heavy macro-cannon exchange. Guilliman personally spearheaded the advance. Within the ships, the cybirds manifested as pallid semi-corporeal forms, gaunt without their exo-armor, yet ferocious in resistance. Invictari Terminators established the breachheads and pressed inwards with disciplined precision. At the core of the large hourglass-shaped vessel, Guilliman confronted the primary cybird entity, a towering, multi-limbed gestalt organism whose elongated head emitted psychic shockwaves capable of fracturing ceramite, shielded by the sacrifice of Ptolemy, who absorbed the brunt of the creature's psychic assault. Guilliman closed the distance and destroyed the Xenos commander through the direct engagement. With the fall of each central organism, the towering vessels were neutralized and enslaved armies collapsed as control faltered. The system was secured. The cost, however, was significant. Several thousand legionnaires were lost, yet the Cybird threat was extinguished at its source, and order reasserted through deliberate and uncompromising action.
Yeah, this battle is interesting. It has a whole bunch to it. Like, it's a whole novel. But honestly, I feel like the only thing you kind of get out of it is, like, this was the Ultramarines' only challenge, and they fought this challenge once before as well. So it was the only challenge and, like, a little redemption thing. I didn't feel like it was necessarily needed in the overarching storyline of Guilliman. Like, it didn't feel necessary. Like, yeah, they might have regained a little bit of honor, but they also wrote this Xeno specifically to steal their honor. So if they went around, it was like never taken, you know?
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I guess it also does kind of speak to, like, the Ultramarines don't really have, again, just like them. And a lot of people will criticize them for, like, the kind of boring combat record of, like, world conquered compliance. Oh, look, a small hiccup where we kind of maybe had issues, but also compliance. Like,
Yeah. You're telling me out of these 500 worlds, nothing interesting happened. No, it all went pretty smooth, really.
yeah.
Next, we'll cover the raising of Monarchia. In 964 M30, the Emperor recalled Roboute Guilliman from the prosecution of the Great Crusade and entrusted him with the grave and necessary charge. None were privy to the exchange, and Guilliman himself did not speak of it. Yet the intent was clear in its execution. The Imperium required correction where doctrine had strayed from reason. The Ultramarines were selected not for spectacle, but for precision, for their proven capacity to enact the Emperor's will without hesitation or excess. He's tried it a couple times, these censoring moves. He's like, okay, the wolves will deal with it. That'll be fine. Just like they wipe out a legion. Like, okay, this time let's send a more reasonable batch of people to help censor. Under the direct command, the full strength of the Ultramarines, by that era, Ultramar had become a disciplined realm of prosperous and compliant systems, a testament to ordered governance and sustainable conquest. The 13th Legion did not merely win wars, it secured futures. In this, they stood as living demonstration of the imperial truth, properly applied, rational, secular, and enduring. Their record of compliance and stability made them more ideal instrument of censor, not destroyers, but exemplars. Under direct command, the full strength of the Ultramarine Legion, accompanied by the Legio Custodes and Malcador the Sigillite, translated to Kur. There stood Monarchia, a city raised in devotion and a monument, celebrated by the word bearers as perfection. Guilliman's orders were unambiguous. The city was to be razed. The 13th Legion carried out the task methodically, dismantling its cathedrals and leveling the grand avenues. A quarter of the continent was reduced to ash, but not in fury, but in disciplined obedience to imperial decree. An astropathic signal was permitted to summon the 17th Legion. When their fleet arrived and beheld the devastation, they were met with Guilliman's command: assemble upon the surface before the ruins of Monarchia. The Ultramarines stood in ordered ranks as witnesses and guarantors of the Emperor's judgment. Upon the ashes of the city, the Emperor himself addressed the assembled word-bearers. By his psychic authority, he compelled them to kneel and declare unequivocally that he was no god. Worship had no place within his imperium, and the failing of the 17th was not loyalty, but deviation from the imperial truth. When the Emperor departed, the lesson had been delivered with absolute clarity. The Ultramarines withdrew in disciplined formation, their duty fulfilled. Monarchia stood as a warning, etched in stone and memory. The Imperium would not tolerate divergence into superstition, no matter how fervent the intent. In the decades that followed, the 13th Legion continued the expansion of imperial borders, building compliance systems and reinforced structures of governance that would endure beyond conquest. Though the word-bearers resumed their campaigns with renewed intensity, the Ultramarines remained vigilant. They had witnessed the cost of misdirected conviction. Order, reason, and unity under the imperial truth remained their compass. Whatever currents moved unseen within the wider Imperium, the 13th Legion held on to its course, measured and resolute, and unwavering in its mandate to build and defend a rational empire among the stars.
Yeah, it's a pretty pivotal moment that drives this wedge between Lorgar specifically and Guilliman that will re-emerge during the Horus Heresy. But remember this moment. I find it funny, Mark. You kept correcting her. You said it right, Monarchia, and then you kept correcting yourself the wrong way.
Curse my fat tongue. Yeah,
it was designed for purpose, Mark.
This is a crazy scene, though. The Emperor gets there, commands an entire legion to kneel before him. It's kind of stuff like that where I'm like, but what the fuck happened with the Horus Heresy then? Like, if you have that much power, like, I know the warp was turbulent and stuff, but still, you forced this entire legion to kneel before you.
And also declare that you're not a god, even though you're psychically forcing them.
Yeah, talk about gaslighting, eh?
Yeah. But also, yeah, you're right. Like, that's the problem with power scaling at 40K.
Yeah.
Like, the Emperor has these, like, can annihilate whole planets with a thought, and then also struggles against Horus and the whole Horus Heresy. So, you know, you get what you get with mythology, I guess.
Yeah.
Inconsistency is what you get. Do you have another thought?
It's an interesting moment too for the Ultramarines. Like they don't really take it to heart themselves in the moment, but it would have been weird for them because they're not really known for, like, as we've talked, going and raising the city.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not their way. Yeah, and I get why the Ultramarines were chosen. Like at this point, yeah, they've tried to censor a couple times and it seems to go sideways. So yeah, maybe a little more rational. But yeah, then he levels the city with the Ultramarines. Yeah, it just seems odd.
Yeah. No, I actually like that level of complexity because, like, everything you're saying is 100% right. Every time you try to do this with other legions, okay, they get a little out of hand. That's not the purpose of this. And then, like, discipline without, like, punishment in the sense of, like, you know, it's measured. It's measured discipline, and that's what Guilliman brings. But also, that's not what they do. Like all that, I think, is actually a pretty cool, like layered context to the incident at Monarchia.
Yeah, the incident,
the thing we don't talk about. Yes. Yeah, and like you said, like to the Ultramarines, it wasn't personal. They're not angry necessarily about this. I just go into your house, smash all your stuff. It's nothing personal, kid. Is that dad? You just had to. Dad had to teach you a lesson. That's all.
Dad had to teach you a lesson and break your toys.
Yeah.
Sleep with your girlfriend. Damn it, Dad.
Every time.
Every time.
All right, let's speaking to Guilliman's personality. During the forging of Ultramar and the long advance of the Great Crusade, Roboute Guilliman was defined by disciplined vision and exacting reason. He possessed a mind attuned not only to conquest, but to construction, seeing in every compliance a foundation stone for a greater ordered whole. Methodical in thought and deliberate in action, he balanced ambition with restraint, demanding of himself the same rigor he required of his legion and realm. Guilliman valued structure, law, and accountability, believing that strength without governance was a waste, and victory without stability was failure deferred. Yet beneath his measured exterior lay formidable resolve. Once a course was chosen, he pursued it with unwavering clarity. To his warriors, he was not merely a commander, but an architect of empire, calm amid turmoil, rational amid zeal, and steadfast in his conviction that humanity's destiny would be secured through unity, discipline, and enlightened rule. Really would have been helpful to have you in Iraq, my guy.
They'd be thriving over there right now. But no, now they live in squalor and shit. Fuck. What do you do?
All right, let's get into how he looked. And this is a quote. He is handsome in a plain way. He is handsome the way a regent on an old coin is handsome. Like a good sword is handsome. He is not handsome like a ritual weapon. The way Fulgrim is, he is not angelic like Sanguinius. End quote. Oh no, is this? Oh, sorry, this is like a whole thing. Okay. There's a dutiful line to his jaw, like his good brother Doran. They share nobility. There's a great strength of Ferris and the vitality of Mortarion. There is sometimes the rogue glint of the Khan in his eyes, or the solemnity of the lion. In the architecture of his nose and brow, there is, many claim, the energy and triumph of Horus Lupercal. There is none of the bitterness that shadows Corax, or the persecuted despair that haunts poor Conrad. There is never any of the deliberate mystery that obscures Alfarius or Magnus, and he is more open than that buried soul Vulcan. He never displays the pitch of fury found in Angron, nor do his eyes ever ignite with the psychotic gleam of Russ. He is a high achiever. He knows this about himself. Sometimes it feels like a fault that he has to excuse to his brothers, but then he feels guilty for making excuses. He writes a great deal. He codifies everything. Information is power. Technical theory is victory. He uses a stylus by choice, recording in his own handwriting. He has been writing notes on Tevanti war practices for 17 minutes, but he has still noted and marked 1,500 data bulletins and updates that have tracked across the secondary screens to his left. He sees and reconciles everything. Information is victory. End quote. An extract from Ultima Operational Record. In the era of the Great Crusade, Roboute Guilliman cut an imposing and unmistakable figure in his warplate. Clad in master-wrought cobalt armor, chased with gold, he bore the regal precision of a statesman, fused with the lethal authority of a warlord. The artifice plates were immaculate, every surface maintained to parade standard even amid campaign. marked by the sigil of the 13th Legion and the laurels of compliance. A crimson-plumed helm crowned the cerulean panoply. When worn, though often he went bareheaded among his sons, revealing stern patrician features and a gaze of cold, appraising intelligence. His massive gauntlets and power sword were not ostentatious trophies, but instruments of execution. Balanced, efficient, deadly. In Guilliman's armor, there were no excuses of excesses of barbarity or savage ornamentation. Instead, it projected disciplined splendor, the visual expression of ordered strength and imperial purpose made manifest upon the battlefield.
Very cool. Yeah, he's just wearing blue. Hey, Christian, have you ever seen his 30K helmet before?
I don't think they made 30K helmets. It's actually one of my criticisms of the official Horus Heresy models is that they don't have helmets.
Yeah, like they describe it pretty good, and that's like a nice quote out of a book. But like, yeah. This almost has a cool conversion for it, but it's not
none of them are official. Even Vulcan, his helmet actually appears on the cover of a book, and they never made a miniature with the helmet option. Obviously, Guilliman now has a helmet option in his 40K iteration, but yeah, I do like it. His I do actually quite like his Horus Heresy model. That original, standing on those like marble slabs.
Yeah,
pretty cool pose. He's a good model. He's a good dude. It's funny how they call him plain looking though, because I wouldn't say he's very plain looking personally, but
yeah, he's wearing a bunch of gold.
yeah. Still a pimp daddy. Yeah.
He's very majestic.
Yeah, regal, some might say. Like it's drawing on again that like Caesarian imagery, right? Like Caesar, like glorious imperial posing.
Posing. It's all about the pose. Yeah.
It's all about the pose, man. You can elevate even an average looking dude with the right pose.
If he wasn't pointing, how would I know where to go?
Exactly.
I'd get lost.
I wish I had like an art degree and I could like describe how his pose is like. No, not like art. Yeah, okay, like that's Caesar Augustus pose right there, that first one. But there's all this like meaning and depth to like why his arm is in this certain angle, and I just don't have the background in art to pretend to even know that stuff. But
I'm liking this one.
The Emperor. No, but I just saw one of the Emperor and Guilliman sitting on a cloud together, like Adam and God.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay. Yeah, when you blow it up,
there you
I saw it in the flash. Yeah.
That's the one, eh?
I actually is that Guilliman or is that?
Yeah, that's Guilliman.
Can you send that to me? Actually, I kind of want that. I'm gonna put it on my desktop at work.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, it's sent to you, my friend. That's so funny. Enjoy. I don't want to hear what you do with that. It just exists now.
You're kind.
Yeah, you're putting it in a chat bot and you're like, take off Guilliman's armor. Now do the Emperor. All right, let's talk about the Guilliman's armor, jumping into his war gear. During the Great Crusade, Roboute Guilliman's war gear was not assembled for ornamentation, but for purpose. Each component selected, refined, and maintained as part of a coherent instrument of command. His master-wrought artificial armor integrated advanced auger arrays and cogitated link systems, allowing him to perceive and direct the flow of battle with calculated precision. The Hand of Dominion delivered crushing force at close quarters, while his gladius struck with disciplined exactitude, embodying speed and finality. Even his sidearms were engineered beyond conventional tolerances, their munitions crafted to exacting standards within the forge worlds of the 13th. To the Ultramarines, their Primarch's panoply was not merely a collection of weapons, but a unified arsenal of reasoned war, technology, and the will combined to enforce unity, restore order, and secure the Imperium's expanding frontier.
I imagine he's a good all-arounder, eh? Like he's got the power sword for speed, or the gladius, the power fist to hit hard and slow. He's got his, I know what he uses as a sidearm, just a bolt, like obviously some kind of mastercrafted bolt pistol.
Yeah, and he has it like dialed up.
Yeah, but yeah, he kind of like covers, like again, it's the way he plays, I imagine, kind of is him as a person, just like a good all-arounder, which
Yeah.
broadly speaking, he gets a lot of flack for. Again, people will call him boring or whatever, but
Yeah.
you gotta
I
have
would
some.
imagine though, like he would be one of the better ones, if not one of the best. Like I know he's a good all-rounder, but like he's so smart, man, and that's such a benefit. Like I don't know, he just seems like if you can outthink your opponent, you're gonna beat them.
Yeah. No, I think on tabletop, if I'm not mistaken, he was up there. He wasn't number one for sure, but I think he was up there. And you're right, there is something to say about like, being smart when you fight as much as anything else. Like Angron, I'm sure could be baited into some pretty simple traps and things. But again, he's not like the best at any one thing, but that also is his strength in his own way. You know? Like being able to adapt, being able to think through problems, not being able to be outsmarted by your opponent. Like all those things are all to his favor for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's break down his arsenal here. You have the Armor of Reason. The Armor of Reason was born by Roboute Guilliman, Primarch of the 13th Legion, and within the Chronicles of the Ultramarines, it was known as the Ever Reforged Panoply. It was understood among the Legion that Guilliman permitted no imperfection to endure. Whenever battle revealed a flaw, however slight, the armor was recalled, revised, and strengthened. No weakness was tolerated twice. Across the years of the Great Crusade, its form evolved through deliberate refinement, shaped by the highest arts of Mars and informed by the counsel and craftsmanship of his brothers, Vulcan and Perturabo, before the coming of the Horse Heresy fractured the Imperium. Yeah, so he gets like the two best engineers and armor smiths, and it's like, hey, make my armor better. Like, that's a smart move, my guy. The Hand of Dominion. The Hand of Dominion was a power fist born by Roboute Guilliman throughout the Great Crusade. Its integrated bolter a seamless union of precision and force. Oh, I didn't realize it was embedded in his fist. It's kind of like Calgar.
Yeah.
Among the many weapons at his disposal, this was the one most often seen at the forefront of compliance and censure alike. Forged to surpass the highest standards of the Imperium, it was not merely an instrument of war, but an extension of deliberate authority. To the Ultramarines, it stood as a visible expression of their Primarch strength, measured, controlled, and absolute, embodying the disciplined might with which he enforced unity across the stars. Gladius and Candor. The Gladius in Candor was the radiant silver blade carried by Roboute Guilliman during the long advance of the Great Crusade. Among the many weapons at his command, it was a sword most closely associated with his presence upon the field of war. Forged to a standard beyond reproach, its edge reflected both craftsmanship and purpose in equal measure. To the Ultramarines, it was more than a masterwork of war. It was a symbol of the Primarch's authority, precise, resolute, and unwavering, a manifestation of disciplined strength brought to bear in the name of unity and order.
Cool little sword. I like that it's huge though. Like if a normal human picked it up, it'd be like a claymore size, like not just a little gladius.
Yeah, in the hands of a Primarch. Yeah. The Arbitrator. The Arbitrator was a heavily modified combi bolter favored by Roboute Guilliman when engaged in open battle. It was named by the Primarch for the judgments it rendered, each discharge a decisive settlement of resistance. Engineered to tolerances comprehensible only to the most exalted Archmagos of the Mechanicum, if nonetheless answered flawlessly to Guilliman's grasp, wielded with the same controlled precision a legionary might display with a sidearm. Its bolt shells were individually wrought by the foremost ordnance smiths of the 13th Legion's forges, each round fitted with refined micro-atomantic compression warheads, munition crafted not for spectacle, but for finality. Micro-atomantic compression warheads. Is that saying they're kind of like mini nukes.
Yeah, I suppose the atomic aspect of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
automatic. Let's put that word into Google.
Is
And
that a
see
real
if
science word or is that a 40K science word?
Yeah. See if somebody comes knocking on my door here. Hey, you can't be doing that.
You gotta stop building those nuclear reactors. Ever since Eric put us on the map, telling the whole world,
Yeah.
nuke.
Fuck, they take that really serious now. Fuck.
We all got
Specific nuance or narrow identities within the broader aromatic spectrum. These, that's beyond my pay grade. I'm closing that tab. I don't need to learn about that.
That doesn't even sound.
Learn.
Yeah, it sounded like something aroma based.
You're telling me Guilliman's shooting spectrum bullets at people? Come on, it's pretty gay.
The Cognis Signum. The Cognis Signum was an advanced integration of sensory augers, cogitator-guided communications, and telemetry arrays embedded within the artificer armor worn by Roboute Guilliman, fashioned by the ancient Mechanicum to exacting standards. This system expanded his perception beyond the limits of flesh, refining battlefield data into clarity and actionable insights in real time. Comparable in sophistication to the arrays employed by the Mechanicum's Thalax cybernetic cohorts, it served not merely as enhancement, but as amplification of command, ensuring that strategy, coordination, and execution remained unified under precise and rational oversight. So yeah, he's just got like a computer system built into his armor that helps him manage the battlefield, directly communicate with people. Like, yeah, he's not only fighting his battles face to face, but he's also managing the whole battlefield from his suit of armor. Just makes sense.
This is a cool paint job of them. Do you like the all gold? Is it a little much?
I'm blowing up my screen here. 1 sec. Oh yeah. I do like the Primarch's alternative color schemes. I don't know. Sometimes it just makes sense. Like I've seen, especially with the 40K version of Guilliman, I've seen him like in all white, kind of marbled armor, in all black armor, in all gold armor, in the standard Ultramarine blue armor. I think
I kind of like if they have like a more ceremonial alternative armor. I always think that's cool. I don't know if that's necessarily
war Penelope, and then they got like their parade armor.
Yeah. I think that's cool. I don't know if that's necessarily what that is, but if that's like the theme, then I think that's pretty sweet. It seems a little like maybe impractical bringing a full gold suit into war, but I don't know.
With a body like this, you don't need armor.
Yeah.
On that note, Mark, you want to send me that picture too?
Oh my god, that's so funny. So that's his war gear. Now we got a couple options here, and maybe we'll let the chat decide how do we want to read Guilliman's bibliography. We got a bunch of quotes here. Do we want to read you guys to bed? We could just read through these and not interrupt you with our thoughts, so you can just now fade into the night. Or maybe we'll do that. We'll just kind of all pick some and just slowly read through it and see if we can lull people into sleep with thoughts of wisdom. They'll wake up refreshed, smarter, and ready, willing to wage war, hopefully.
Make sure to add some music to some ambient music to the post.
Yeah, Lupical, if you can do that, that'd be sweet. Just we'll try to lull people into sleep with some book talk.
All right, we'll start then with his bibliography. Throughout the Great Crusade, Roboute Guilliman committed his strategic doctrines and governing principles to carefully structured treatises, composed not as abstract philosophy, but as practical frameworks for enduring empire. These works codified the conduct of war, the responsibilities of command, and the integration of conquered worlds into stable, productive systems. Written with clarity and precision, they reflected his conviction that victory must be systematized if it is to be preserved. Among the Ultramarines, these texts were studied as extensions of their Primarch's will, living documents intended to refine judgment, standardize excellence, and ensure that discipline and reason would outlast any single campaign.
Bedtime Tale 1 on war. In any battle, great or small, the most insignificant of terrain and the most worthless of ground can, for minutes or perhaps hours, become so valuable that the blood of heroes and the wealth of an army supply does not outweigh it. The true general knows when such a price is worthy of spending, and when the butcher's bill is sheer folly to pay.
The writings of Roboute Guilliman. To conduct battle on two fronts is an act of either desperation or utter foolishness. In such an arena, it is neither skill nor firepower that brings victory, but the ability to manipulate that of your enemy. Codicil, 1923.
Notes towards martial codification. Battle is not a state to be entered into lightly. Battle is always painful and always comes at a price. So the astute commander never commits to battle unless no other options remain. Once that commitment is made, once the phase of execution or primary condition has begun, it must be done with the utmost efficacy. A rapid application of overwhelming force to obliterate your enemy as quickly and completely as possible. Do not give him the time or space to react. Do not leave him with any material or opportunity that he can use in a rallying phase. Eliminate him physically and psychologically so that his threat is entirely removed. Kill him with your first shot. Utterly annihilate him with your first strike. This may be considered the application of attack in its purest form. That was part 4.1 of the codification. This is the next part. That was 1B. This is 1C. It is necessary to, under some circumstances, even in extremist actions of compliance, to methodically destroy an opponent's infrastructure along with the opponent himself. Sometimes an emphatic military victory is not enough. Sometimes the very earth must be salted, as the ancient texts put it. The principal arguments for this kind of action may be psychological, against a defiant people or species, or a matter of security, in that you're purifying a region of something too dangerous to exist. Neither of these arguments is especially comforting to a pragmatic commander. War is about accomplishments as well as victory. It should not be about supreme destruction. This kind of total war, this process of raising, is most commonly seen with shock or hyper-aggressive forces. The warriors of Angron, my brother Primarch of the 12th Legion, refer to it as totality, and even they employ it rarely to its full extent. For my brother Russ and the Wergen war cant of the Vulca Fenrica, we borrow the term skira vordata, which may most usefully be rendered as system kill. And this is section 7.31a. The phase of acquisition, or preparatory condition, is a vital segment of any successful prosecution. Though a warrior must be prepared to battle reactively without notice or forewarning, it is when he prepares and plans for war and accommodates the specifics of his adversary into those plans that he is most successful. This is war as craft or science, as I have remarked before. Often the fight is won before the first shot has been fired, or even before notice of the first shot has been given.
Part 14.2, 11, 1E. In the phase of open warfare, especially when one is placed in a position of defending or countering, one must be proactive. Determine what commodities or resources you'll need to gain the advantage and place your opponents in the defensive. Establish which of these commodities or resources your opponent possesses. Take them from him. Do not chase glory. Do not force unwinnable confrontations. Do not try to match his strength if you know his strength overmatches yours. Do not waste time. Decide what will make you strong enough and then acquire those things. Your most desired commodity is always your continued ability to prosecute war. Part 26.16, 35, 1E. In the end phase of any combat, or at any point after the decisive strike has been accomplished, loss must be recognized. This is one of the harshest lessons for a warrior to learn. It is seldom written about, and it's not valued or defined. You must understand that when you have lost, perceiving this state is as important as accomplishing victory. Once you appreciate that you have, by any theoretical measure, been defeated, you can decide what practical outcome you can best afford. You may, for example, choose to withdraw, thus preserving force strength and materials that would otherwise be wasted. You may choose to surrender if anything may be accomplished by the continuation of your life, even if in captivity. You may choose to expend your last efforts doing as much punitive damage to the victor as possible to weaken him for other adversaries. You may choose to die. The manner of which a warrior deals with his defeat is a truer mark of his mettle than his comportment in victory. Everything is an enemy. And that is part 645. That's a little later into the Great Crusade. He's like, yeah, this galaxy is kind of fun.
He's a little bit jaded at that point. Also, one of my favorite quotes. Just get that on just my screensaver. Everything is an enemy. All right. Moving on to some of his other great works. Models move and fight in units made up of one or more models. Every model within 2 inches horizontally. No, I'm just kidding. I was going to say it's one of his great tactical writings, but I just read that from the Codex. How to play Warhammer 40k. No. The Apocrypha of Scaros. Let them bestride the galaxy like the gods of old, sheltering mankind from destruction at the hands of an uncaring universe. And these are just excerpts. There's no... doesn't say where to find them in this fictional book. Quote, a captain leads from the front. By his example shall his men know what it is to be of the Adeptus Astartes, and from his teachings shall they learn the trade of battle in the Emperor's name. No ordinary man can a captain be, for many are the paths to victory, and he must be master of them all. His very being shall be an extension of the Emperor's work. With every strike of his sword, with every word of his speech, does he reaffirm the ideals of our honored master. He will vanquish darkness and heresy with every thought, word, and deed. So shall his coming be a sign of deliverance to the dutiful, and a herald of dismay to all traitors. No living man shall stay his wrath. End quote. Quote, of the tactical space marine, bedrock of his chapter, and paragon to his brothers, I shall tell thee, he shall be steeped in the lore of battle, and schooled in all manner of weapon and strategy. With combat blade, bolt gun, and grenade, he shall assail the foe. But these are mere tools. The tactical marine's true weapons are his courage, his wits, and his dedication to his brothers. He will bring his foe to battle in a manner and a time of his choosing, never himself caught unready or ill-prepared for the task at hand. In defense, he shall be stalwart as the mountain, a bulwark stood firm against the enemies of man. In attack, he shall strike with the wrath of the immortal emperor, felling the foe without mercy, remorse, or fear.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty cool. It does it very much rings of like Sun Tzu or Seneca, if anyone's ever read those sort of ancient texts. And those guys also wrote a lot while they were actually literally in battle. So it's kind of a cool, like I don't know, philosopher king, warrior poet kind of vibe here going on. All right, we'll do the last bit here. And the assault marine, so do I decree, he shall descend upon the perfidious foe as an angel of judgment from on high. Let the jump pack be his wings, and the roar of its engines a hymn of retribution. Let the chainsword be his scepter of decree, its harsh voice singing joyfully with each and every blow. With it shall the assault marine bring bloody retribution to the heretic, the traitor, and all alien aggressors who trespass on the emperor's domain. So will the assault marine be a hunter of warlords and the slayer of kings. His armor shall run slick with the blood of life of the vanquished, and all shall honor his name. A devastator's reach shall be without limit, and his touch without mercy. Fire shall roar from his fingertips, but it shall consume him not. Thunder will roar when he calls, yet it will swallow him not. Let the devastator squad be thy blazing wrath, bringing the light of the emperor's justice to the darkest corners of the battlefield. Wherever he stands, that shall be his fortress of righteousness. He shall hold in his gift the fate of all who pass before his unblinking gaze. All shall fear him, and he shall fear no one. Use your bike squads as a blade, striking the enemy and turning aside his counter blows in equal measure. But in all things beware that speed is nothing without direction, just as even the mightiest weapon is worthless without careful aim. A biker's stance should always be resolute and dauntless, but never immobile or rigid. His speed is his advantage, and surprise his deadliest weapon. In fluidity he will find success, and in success shall he find renown. Make the predator's virtues your own. Let your resolve become as impervious as the predator's armored hull, and let your rage strike the righteous fury of its guns as it crushes the foe beneath its remorseless advance. So shall you smite the traitor and the alien without hesitation or regret. Know that to take the field alongside a predator is to fight at the side of one of mankind's most honored guardians. To strive with less than your all beneath its iron gaze is to dishonor yourself and your battle brothers before one of mankind's greatest heroes.
Now sleep well, little hypno-indoctrinated Astartes. Sleep well.
Until
Do
the
you guys
time
have
I
any-
call you to strike.
Yeah. Those are pretty cool. They add so much character and fluff and like stuff to the universe, although it also feels like I'm reading like Sun Tzu Art of War, you know? I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Yeah, okay, I attack them when they're weak, I get it. But how do I do that?
There's almost like a scriptural to like a biblical way some of these last ones were written. I'm gonna see if I can sneak that into a local priest's sermon or something and see if anyone.
Thou shalt be his fortress of righteousness, and he shall hold the bolt gun in his hand. Yeah, pretty cool.
Yes.
All right, well, with that, that's all we have to say for now about Roboute Guilliman. Not much happens to him. He's got some fun stuff, but, you know, there's more to him, I guess. We'll get to it in the next episode of Lorehammer. See you there. Adios.
I was just gonna ask. You always ask this in all the Primarch episodes. Where does he fall on your kind of radar? Like, you like him a lot, you hate him, you somewhere in the middle.
Jordan?
Yeah, I like him. I wouldn't say he's like my favorite or anything, but he's cool. I like that he likes to do the boring work, that the not sexy stuff of like logistics and setting up his conquered worlds for success in the future.
Yeah, I definitely like organization. You know, often when doing homebrew lore, you spend a lot of time organizing. So I feel like writing the Codex Astartes, if I could watch them right, that'd be okay with me. So I've always liked them. I've collected a couple Ultramarines army. Like, I had the entire 5th company at one point. But Yeah, he's one of those guys. Like, there's nothing to hate about him, and you can definitely like him. But then you learn about other guys, and like, okay, well, they're just cooler. Like, there's nothing wrong with Roboute, but he's just not the coolest.
His Rome aesthetic really does do it for me, though. On top of all the other stuff you guys are saying, he's up there for me. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, look right there. He's in a toga. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, like they. Yeah, he's up there. He's not my favorite. Maybe like top 5, I would say. You want to send that one to me too? Anyways,
yeah. Wait, has he just been in the Blue Man group this whole time with his armor?
Yes,
it's the same body.
Yeah, but yeah, he, like I said, he's not my favorite. I guess he lacks that like distinguishing factor for me, which is kind of like why people would accuse him of being boring or whatever. I wouldn't go so far as to say something crazy like that. However, yeah, he's up there for me.
Like in 40K, it's built on like myth and going over the top and being extreme. Like he just almost doesn't feel like he fits the setting entirely. Now, I kind of like what happens to him in 40K. It's very grim dark because he builds this utopia and then comes back. It's like, what the fuck did you guys do to the place? No one bothered to sweep once. You know?
Yeah, that is one of my favorite quotes of 40K is that like Guilliman dismayed kind of when he comes back. Yeah, I think he's an interesting character in that like he is this like bulwark of like reason and stability in such an over the top universe and setting. Although I will say there is a lot of like from the authors kind of this sense of like superiority in like the reasonness I get, like kind of that edgy atheism type attitude is my feeling about him. Like, no,
it's a funny belief to have when they're like literal gods trying to eat your soul on the rig.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, like reason will prevail kind of thing. Anyone is an always sunny watcher.
Now, quick, shoot lightning bolts out of your hands.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, right. Like, but no, yeah, like I said, top 5 for sure.
Okay, top 5. That's nice. That's nice. Okay. He's like, what do you mean? I gave you independence and you made my 500 worlds a shithole. Yeah. Yeah.
What happens when you take a 10,000 year nap, my guy? That's on you.
That's on you. Yeah. Well, we'll learn more about him in the next episode. Yeah, I guess we'll see you there. Have a good one.